Yo, what is going on, guys? DJRX here, and today I'm coming at you with a brand new video. And in today's video, we are looking at Void Bastards, and specifically sound in Void Bastards. So I am going to be covering this game a little bit. It's a new roguelike game that came out and is extremely fun, extremely addicting, and sound plays a major part in it. So by the time you're further in the game, you've already probably mastered a lot of these sound systems, but stealth is very important for getting around very tough enemies and is a necessity if you want to save ammo and be efficient when raiding ships. This means that you have to use sound to your advantage. It's almost impossible to get through the whole game, especially if you're on a harder difficulty, without taking advantage of stealth mechanics in this game. So with the comic book style of this game comes a visual representation for most sound, which is actually very useful. You can tell where enemies are. It's almost like you don't even need headphones to hear the sound, as there are visible representations. As you see on the screen now, you can see the tap tap. That means an enemy is through a door, and each enemy has a unique sound on the other side of the door. So as you saw there, the door said step, 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 and there was a janitor on the other side. Others will say tap, some will say hover, and I will cover enemy types later, but just know that each enemy has a different type of sound on the other side of the door, and you can see it pretty much see squelch, squelch, tap, stuff like that. And it was one of those little imp boys on the other side. Besides the visual effects that sound makes for enemies when you're not in the room, when you're in the same room as an enemy, they often make sounds that you can hear through your headset. They talk, you can hear their footsteps. Their footsteps are actually fairly loud, so it's pretty easy to tell where they are in a room. So now, of course, there are a few miscellaneous items around the ship besides enemies and besides yourself that make noise. There's the grinder, there's stuff like the air duct, and there's stuff like alarms that will alert enemies. Explosions will also alert enemies if you use any explosives to kill anything. Whether it's explosions from your own weaponry or from explosive enemies, you just need to be careful and you need to expect a fight when you hear an explosion. Make sure you're monitoring your doors for those visual effects, because good chance if you created a large explosion, a lot of enemies will be nearby. So just make sure that when you're interacting with the things on the ship, as well as explosions, just make sure that you don't make too much noise. And if you do make a lot of noise, just make sure, be aware of your surroundings, be aware that there could be enemies that got attracted by your noise. Now, besides interactables, the most important thing that makes noise on this ship is yourself. So you can crouch, walk, and sprint in this game. Crouching creates the least noise, walking creates a little more noise, and then sprinting is very loud. And you can tell when you're sprinting and creating loud noises, as you will see white lines at the end, another visual indicator. These same white lines are the white lines you see at the air duct or at the grinder when you use them. These just indicate that you are making a lot of noise and enemies will hear you. They'll probably be coming for you if you're in close proximity to them. I recommend using stealth mechanics to get around enemies if all possible. Crouching is very important as it does save a lot of ammunition, and of course at harder difficulties and when you get to deeper depths, ammunition is extremely important to conserve, especially for those more powerful weapons. So now if you're crouching, you can basically get right up next to an enemy and they will not hear you as long as they can't visibly see you. Of course, visibility is the most important thing. If an enemy can see you, of course they are going to detect you, but you can get pretty damn close to enemies and get some pretty good shots in if you want to kill them. So I would recommend crouching behind them if they don't see you, so you can make sure to get your crit spots and of course save ammo. And if at all, some enemies you're going to have to avoid, like the sec bot. You can't really kill. It's really hard to kill the sec bot, and it's really hard to kill some of the more powerful enemies until you get some pretty damn good weaponry, some pretty upgraded weaponry. So it is going to be very important to crouch a majority of the time. And of course, always be aware, always look at doors for those visual cues, and always be aware of what you're doing on the ship if you're making a lot of noise. As you play more, you'll understand which enemies make which sounds, whether you're looking at a door or you're in the room with the enemies, so you know whether to engage or whether to leave a more powerful enemy alone. Overall, I would recommend trying to stealth if possible, because you can save health, you can save ammo, and ultimately make your run more productive. Now, obviously, killing can't totally be avoided, but if it can, I would recommend doing so. So a few final tips to remember. I would recommend crouching and trying to sneak around enemies, like I just said. You can get close to enemies if you crouch, and you can get a pretty nice killing blow if you're close with a lot of the weapons, such as the shotgun. Make sure when you're sprinting or you're using the grinder or anything like that, you're aware of where enemies are, because you don't want to summon a powerful enemy or a sec bot or something like that right towards you, because that will get you killed. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more Void Bastards. This was just my first quick little beginner's guide on sound, as sound is one of the most important aspects of this game. I'll probably have a pistol weapon review coming out later, and more guides will be coming out in the near future. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's been DigiRex. Peace.
Can leave it alone. Talking about somebody rolling, boulevard dining, making it count for efforts I can't explain. Bowling and feeling we drowning, never been humbled by playing the fighter.